Hey, hello everybody. So today we're gonna do chocolate ice cream, and this recipe comes to you courtesy of, you're gonna laugh, Hamilton Beach. So we bought a Hamilton Beach ice cream maker a long time ago, and it was not very expensive, and I would say it is very good quality for the amount of money we paid for it. And most importantly, it has the most delicious chocolate ice cream recipe I've ever had. So you're basically going to make a chocolate custard. So what it's going to call for is 4 ounces of unsweetened chocolate, but we're going to use 70%. So hopefully that won't mess our recipe up with that little extra sugar there. Sweeten life up a little bit. So there we go. That's going to go in. Hopefully don't put any foil in there. The next step is going to be to add a cup of half and half. So shake it, mix it up a little bit. Measuring cup pour because I made bread earlier. 1. 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that over fairly low heat because I don't want to burn that chocolate. And so I'm going to probably do it even lower and slower than they would recommend, because nothing worse than burnt tasting chocolate ice cream. So we're going to put that real low, and we're going to come back because it's going to be a bunch of minutes. So I'm going to let that warm up a little bit, and then slowly I'll just start stirring, and we'll mix it up, but I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Alright, so as you can see, chocolate is just starting to melt. I'm able to break it up, and you just kind of swoosh it around in there. Let's see if I can give you a little better shot in there. So just take your time, keep that heat real low. I don't like to burn the chocolate. No hurry here, take your time and you'll end up with a much better product. One time I went a little too fast and I swear the chocolate tasted kind of burnt. So we'll come back in another few minutes when it's time for the next step. Alright, so while that's still melting over here, let's give it a little quick another stir. And let's go on to our next set of ingredients here. So it says in a small bowl combine flour, sugar, and salt. So like I said, I just got done making some delicious bread over here, so I am out of measuring utensils. So I'm going to have to use 4 of these quarter cups for my sugar. 1. 2. 3. 4. There we go. Then 1 cup sugar. How much flour we need? 2 tablespoons of flour. I can do that. One. 2. And it uses the slightest amount of salt. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Oh my goodness, it's like it's not even there. And just a wee bit of salt. Alright. Gradually whisk dry ingredients into the melted chocolate mixture and bring to a boil. Interesting, I can do that. Alright, we're back in the action here. So what I did was I went ahead and I whisked together the dry ingredients, and now it says to gradually whisk this into the melted chocolate. then bring to a boil, but I'm gonna do this ever so slowly. I don't want to burn everything here. Alright, so that's whisked in. I'm gonna let the heat come up on that, and we will gradually bring it to where they ask. And so it says, gradually whisk dry ingredients into the melted chocolate mixture, bring to a boil, and then reduce heat to medium-low and cook. So let's bring this to the point where it's bubbling, and then we'll reduce the heat. We'll come back. Alright, let's come back to it. So I'm starting to see bubbles here. I'm going to call that boiling. So it says from here, to reduce heat to medium-low and cook, stirring occasionally. So I'm going to do that to very low. And just let that keep cooking down a little bit. And I will stir occasionally. And then we'll go on to the next step, which is going to be beating eggs, and then I'm going to be pouring some of that into the eggs, but we'll get to that when we're there. But first we have to kind of reduce this down a little bit and cook it for a minute. So we'll keep that going, we'll come back to it. Alright, let's keep this ice cream party popping. So let's see. Next step is to slightly beat 2 eggs. So we're using this ridiculously sized bowl because, like I said, we're doing a bunch of other things right now, so you use what you got. Oh, there we go. If I could learn to crack an egg, maybe I could cook. Alright. Call that slightly beaten. Call that good. So that is literally what we're going to do for now. I got to bring over some hot stuff. Alright, so here we are back at our mixture. Looks like it's thickened up a little bit. And so now let's read this next step very carefully, because what you're doing is you have eggs and you do not want to cook those eggs. So stirring occasionally. In a medium bowl, slightly beat eggs. Slowly whisk in half of the chocolate mixture and then transfer this mixture to the remaining chocolate. So what you're doing is you're going to take half of this here and we're going to pour it in with our eggs and bring the eggs up to temperature slowly so we don't cook them. We want to slowly bring them up. We don't want to have them turn into scrambled eggs. So I think what we're gonna do is we'll back our shot off a little bit here, and let's reposition a little bit. Let's see if I can do this without burning the crap out of myself. So we'll put the whisk in there. We will, I think I only need one of these. Let's give you a little better shot, huh? Let's see if we can tighten it up here a little bit. And then somehow, let me use my strong hand. So what we're doing is we're bringing in this slowly, because we do not want to make scrambled eggs here. We're trying to make a custard, not scrambled eggs. Oop, that was probably too much, but we'll hope that'll be okay. Bring a little bit more in, we're going to call it good. Scrapey, scrapey. Bring that back over here. So So let's give you some. It is definitely not the prettiest thing in the world, but man, this is some good ice cream when you get done. Or I guess we should really call it frozen chocolate custard. So what we're doing is we're bringing this all together, warming up the egg slowly. Now what we do here, check my directions again for a second. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is transfer this back to the main chocolate mixture. Slowly. Again, you do not want to cook the eggs. Quite yet. You need to bring them up to temperature slowly so you make a custard, not scrambled eggs. Okay, let me go get myself a spatula here from Spatula City, where I get all my spatulas. Alright, get all of that good stuff in there. Alright, that's good. All that good. Alright, let's get back to this. I think we're going to raise the temperature slowly on this, and it says cook for 5 minutes. And since I'm doing a low temperature here, I might go a few extra minutes beyond 5 because I like to keep everything nice and low because of that chocolate. So we'll set a timer. We'll watch you watch some of the initial stirring, but I'll spare you the full 5 minutes of boring video of watching me stir. But you don't need to stir the whole time, but you should come over here and stir often to make sure you're not making scrambled eggs and making custard instead. Oh, this is such good ice cream, guys. You have no idea. It's so rich and creamy and probably so bad for you, but we don't make it very often. So anyway, special treat every so often. And I hear I'll be doing 500 push-ups tomorrow, so we'll make up for it. And I walked up and down the hill 6 times today, but I'll spare you that video. Talk to you. Alright, we'll come back to it here. I'm going to probably add an extra 2 minutes to this, just because I'm kind of going at a lower heat here. I want to make sure I do cook the egg, but I want to do it very, very slowly. So you see it's starting to get a little thicker as I pull my whisk through. You can start to see a little bit of trail that's left behind as it thickens up. So that right there, that beeper was 5 minutes. So I think I'm gonna add an extra 2 minutes, just because I've not been doing this at a very high temperature. There is steam coming off the mixture, so it is definitely, you know, cooking. So we're gonna add 2 extra minutes here, and we'll come back to it. So once it says cook 5 minutes until thick, smooth, and steaming. Let cool to room temperature. So we're going to be saving this for around dinner time. So I will probably do this video, and a lot of time will lag between what you're looking at here. We'll let it cool, and just before dinner, we're going to refrigerate it, and we'll pull it out of the refrigerator, add some whipping cream, and put it in the machine. The machine has a frozen pit, kind of the base of the machine, and that has a block of ice basically inside of like a cavity of the machine, and that will freeze it instead of the good old-fashioned ones where I think you had to use a ton of rock salt and ice, which is not easy. Although I will say that this machine will tend to make it like a soft serve consistency, and then you'll have to pop it in the freezer to really get it frozen all the way. And I'll tell you, this is such a rich mixture here that it never really gets that hard. It's absolutely amazing. So this has got to be the best chocolate ice cream I've ever had. And I'm not exaggerating, because I don't think many of them go to the trouble of making like a true chocolate custard and freezing it, unless you go to very expensive restaurant. So look how good this is getting. So I think we're just about there. I'm gonna pull it a little bit short. It's been steaming for a little bit here, so I'm gonna call that cooked. You can see how much more developed the trails are when I pull the whisk through. You can almost make tunnels in it. So there you go. We'll let that cool, and then we'll come back to the last steps for making ice cream from scratch. It'll be the best ice cream you've ever had. I'll give you one more shot here. So this can be had by purchasing a Hamilton Beach ice cream maker. They're also very nice and include their instruction manuals online, so you can go online and look up Hamilton Beach ice cream makers. You have to play around with which model number to find this specific recipe. There's a lot of other recipes, and honestly, we've never tried any of the other recipes. We love this one so much. We've probably made it almost a dozen times in a couple years. So anyway, you shouldn't have this all the time because you can see it uses a ton of half and half and whipping cream, but it is sure good. Talk to you later, folks. Alright, we're back. How about you guys take turns? Alright, so it's going to take a cup and a half of heavy whipping cream. Okay, so a cup and a half. Cup and a half. Cup and a half of heavy whipping cream. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla.
1 teaspoon of vanilla.
So we'll put that in there. Well, you guys take turns, okay?
That's milk.
This is heavy whipping cream. Alright, there we go. Keep that over there for the mess. So we have to mix this all together. That should be interesting.
I want to set a timer for the ice cream.
Okay, you set a timer for the ice cream. This is a bit of a mess to get this all incorporated.
You put so high.
Well, that's the way I have to do the video. And it's going to take some time. You got to get all the clumps out from the whisk. You see the chocolate? You see slowly but surely the little clumps are getting out of there. And we're mixing everything together. And you gotta scrape the walls as best you can. Get all that incorporated.
Papa, I don't have a stool.
You don't have a stool? Well, how about you take turns now, huh? Give Lisa another second and then it'll be your turn. That's because you didn't eat your dinner. Okay, that's just about ready. So now we're going to pause it a second. We're going to get out the base, and we'll start making it. Alright, so we have the base now in place, and I know that it needs to just go up like this and then, and the handle comes up. It's always good to test to make sure, know which way the handle needs to come up in relation to how the cord is, because you'll have problems otherwise. So let's take that out. Put that over here.
There was a chocolate.
Then we'll bring this up. Like this. That's a little better shot, I guess. And just start pouring. There's kind of a hole in the top of this to pour, but I don't like to pour through there. It makes a huge mess. So I just pour it all in here, and then I put the paddle into it when I'm done. So just spatula as much of it as you can in.
Scrape the walls.
Scrape the walls, get it all in there. There you go, we'll save that. We'll pop that in. There we go. Ah, it wasn't seating. Oh well. There we go. A little bit of mess. We'll get that going. It's spinning around and around. So you're just going to let this go until what'll happen is the paddle will begin to kind of spin one way and it'll lock up, and then it'll spin back the other direction. It'll lock up, and that's when you know it's about as solid as it's going to get. So we'll come back in about 10-15. Alright, so as you can see, it is almost ready. How do I know it's almost ready? It begins to really ride up on the paddles, and it begins to kind of scoop itself out of the little hole that you're able to fill stuff with. So it's going to start binding, or I should say that the clutch will engage, and it'll stop spinning one way, it'll go back the other direction, and it'll stop that way, and it'll go back the other. And sometimes it doesn't always do that. If the pit isn't able to freeze it quite solid enough that it locks up the motor. And you also see that I'm getting a little bit of rocking here from the torque of the motor, because this is not a brand new computer. Alright, so we've all decided we can't wait, and we're not gonna. So there we go. Most importantly, unplug it from the wall so you don't electrocute yourself. So, oops, it's the wrong way. It's a little tricky, so there's a little slot when you have it the correct direction. The little slot will be facing up, and that'll let this come up and out.
Oh my god, it looks good.
Looks pretty good, huh?
No, I'm talking about the little mixer thing.
There we go.
Ah!
Bit of a mess. That's okay. We're making ice cream. All the ice cream from out inside of there so we don't waste any. There we go. Alright, so start serving that up for everybody to enjoy.
That's for the baby.
And that's for the baby.
Since
And then we should probably stop with that right there, since the baby wants to go to bed someday. We would like the baby to go to bed someday.
Not all day.
Nice one for Mama.
But not for me.
And just for the camera, you know what? Papa also would like a nice amount too.
What about me?
You're getting a nice amount too. So here we go for the camera. Look how delicious that is. It's so fluffy. Oh. Mmm. That's going to be the best chocolate ice cream you ever eat. Look at that. Delicious.